right. Well, again, welcome to everyone who's joining us, and we're happy to see you this evening. My name is Leona Straight. I serve as treasurer for the Human Trafficking Task Force of Southern Colorado. We're glad to have you join us. And we want to start with just a couple of announcements. The first one, I'm going to hand it over to Trip to give us his announcement.
All right. Well, hey, hello, everyone. Oh, look at that. Wow. You saved me from sharing my screen. Thanks so much. You all are rocking and rolling. As I mentioned before, this is Paul. He's an oxymoron from way back. And we have a big free show coming up right here on the end of the month, the 22nd. It's a Saturday. And I said free. And it will feature the Oxymorons opening the show. And then the Sofa Killers, another Colorado Springs most favorite liked best of band in the Gazette Readers Poll. They will be playing your favorite hits from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today to shake your groove thing and get down tonight. And they're a fun dance band, and we are doing all this. Like I said, the show is free, and any donations that we get and the raffles that we will be doing will again be going to the Human Trafficking Task Force and supporting the hard work that you all do. If it's work, we wouldn't be doing it, and so we're not. We do the fun stuff, and you guys are the ones that are changing lives and saving souls and helping people and doing the stuff that's really important. We know how to make money, but beyond that, we're pretty useless. Just ask our wives.
Thank you, Trip and Paul, and thanks so much for just your continued ongoing generosity and support of the task force. So that looks like a great event. I see Chris put a link and the information in the chat. Thank you, Chris. So please attend if you are able. Yes.
Hopefully, and say a prayer for the weather, that the weather holds out. It will be a fun night, and it is for all ages. Bring the kids. I would recommend like maybe 5 years older and up, 8 years older and up, to everybody. And the show will be done by 8 o'clock, just in time to catch Matlock and head for bed.
Great, sounds good. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you all. We're going to take off. Hey, blessings, and keep up the wonderful work. Sorry you missed Roger and Linda, but thank you all, everybody. You guys are rock stars.
Thank you. All right, next we have Kristen Hirsch, who is going to tell us about another event coming up. Kristen, take it away.
Hi, thank you. On this Saturday at the Springs Lighthouse Church, we are doing a seminar, the task forces, Lisa Brandt and I will be doing it, and it's from 8:30 to 12. And they do ask that, it says on the screen here that only 16 and older come because of some of the content. But we're going to be focusing on how to protect your family from online predators. And there's plenty of space, plenty of room. We'll be doing some fun activities, and we hope to see you all there.
Excellent. Thank you, Kristen. And also the link for that registration and website is in the chat as well. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
All right. Next, we have Mandy, the new Director of Survivor Care with Restore Innocence. Mandy, please take it away.
Hi, I am Mandy, and I have been part of the task force for several years, and I am excited that I am getting to be the Director of Survivor Care at Restore Innocence. I have just started transitioning really this week, and I'm learning so many things that we can do. So if you are feeling called and want to find more about mentorship, let me know, and I will direct you from there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Excited to have you in that new role.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and then the last announcement for this evening is I want to just call your attention to some positions that are open with Exodus Road. And so you can see that information on the slide. certainly. And then also that information is in the chat now. So if you have interest in either of those positions or want to find out more, please reach out and connect with them. So again, welcome. We are thrilled to have you. We want to take a few minutes and allow people the opportunity to network using the chat. So as you, there's someone that's attending this evening that you would like to, with whom you'd like to connect, please send them a message and just provide that opportunity, or introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us who you're representing, or just how you are involved. So let's take a few minutes to do that before we move into the next stage. Thank you.
All right, everybody, I think I'll go ahead and get us started, get us ready with our speaker. I am Julie Beller. I am the chair for the board of directors for this task force, and I'm glad to be back with you this month. I wasn't here last month, and I missed seeing all of your faces in those little boxes on your screen, and I'm glad to be back this evening. Our speaker this evening is Joanna Spille, founder and executive director of Covered Colorado. She holds a bachelor's degree in education from Ozark Christian College, and she served as a youth pastor in Parker, Colorado for 15 years. After that, she went on to do case management at Denver Rescue Mission. In 2015, she became aware that her daughter's friend had been trafficked. After trying to help her locate resources and help, she became fully aware of how few resources are out there for people over the age of 18. And sadly, all of us who have been with this group for a long time know how true that still remains. After more research, Covered Corporation was formed in September of 2016. In July of 2017, Covered received its 501c3 status and has since worked with 104 survivors of sex trafficking in the Denver area. Covered comes alongside survivors and helps them walk through the healing process, find hope, and get back on their feet. Covered is trauma-informed, empowerment-based, and survivor-informed. In 2019, Covered had its first 2 graduates of the program. In 2020, 3 more graduated, and this November of 2021, another 4 will graduate the program. Covered continues to provide community and support to those graduates, and they're informed, empowerment-based, and survivor-informed. I personally first learned about Covered from a good friend of mine who is also a survivor. And she just gave me a picture of how she felt taken care of, and just they really walked her through a difficult process that she had no idea to do on her own. And from that, I just really appreciate this organization, and I'm so glad to have them here to share with us about what they do. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. We are really excited to be here. I also have Holly Oberum is on this call. Holly is our survivor advocate director, and she is going to help me with some of the presentation. So she'll be chiming in here in a little bit. Yeah, you know, just my introduction, they had asked me to share a little bit about how I just, you know, got involved in this and started learning about trafficking. And yeah, I kind of felt like I got thrown in the deep end, to be quite honest, because I was aware of trafficking internationally. I was not aware of it here in the United States, definitely not here in Colorado. And so to come face to face with that, with somebody that was a very good friend of my daughter's, that I knew very well, that was really difficult. So she was the very first survivor that I have ever known and worked with. Just so you know, I won't make you wait till the end. She's doing really well. She graduated our program last year, and she is happily married and expecting her first baby. And so we are like giddy with joy. She is happy, and she is just doing wonderful. So her story, she has a happy ending. But shortly after we started, we had made the decision to start Covered, I reached out to law enforcement because I don't know how many of you run a nonprofit, but it is not easy. And I knew that it wasn't easy going into it. And I thought, well, I'm not starting a nonprofit just to start a nonprofit. So I better understand the needs. And so I reached out to one of the advocates for the FBI, and probably many of you have contacted her as well. And I said, what are the needs in Colorado? Just tell me what the biggest needs are. And she said, we need people to work with over the age of 18. And then she said, we also need people to work with people on housing and specifically case management. So that's what we decided to do. So that's really what we do today. We're going to get into our programming a little bit more and let you know what that looks like. I saw that many of you are advocates and are working with other organizations. And I was a case manager, like it said, for Denver Rescue Mission for a while. I understand that when you want to get connected with an organization, you really just want to know the easiest step to help that person get connected. So I've got all of that at the end. So we're going to talk about how to connect with us and the easiest way to get a survivor connected. I'm just going to basically give you my program director's direct phone number. So we'll get into all of that in the end. But I do want to go ahead and start with our presentation, and I'm going to have Holly start. So Holly, if you want to unmute yourself, let's see if I can share this screen here.
All right, I'm muted, ready to go.
Oh, you are. Good job. All right. So let me go ahead and play this. I am not as tech savvy as what many people are. So hopefully you can all see that. All right, Holly, go ahead.
Looks great. Okay, thanks, Joanna. Thanks for asking me to be here with you tonight. It was so cool to see, where everybody's from and what organizations are here and who's on the call and what you do. Just really happy to be here. So I wanted to touch just on, some of our principles that we base Covered on that we feel really strongly about. The first one being trauma informed. So all of our volunteers who are going to be working directly with survivors, they go through a lot of care team training is what we call it. So that can be anywhere from 20 hours to 40 hours, depending on what that individual is doing. So 20 hours is more for our mentors who are going to be working directly with survivors. For those who are actually doing case management, they're going to have more like 40 hours of training. So that's before they're actually working with survivors. And not all, but a big portion of that training is on trauma, to make sure that everyone in our organization is trauma informed when they're working with these people who have been trafficked. So that means, as many of you already know, when someone has experienced trauma, that has effects on their brain. It has effects on the way their brain processes. It has an effect on how they make decisions, on regulating their emotions, all of these things, So we want to make sure that if you're, that anyone in our organization working with a survivor is aware of these things, is educated on these things, so that when triggers come up, which many of you also know can happen, from just about anything, you can't plan for them. So we also train them, what to do in that situation of, how to, what are some grounding techniques that you can use, with somebody when they're, to kind of de-escalate the situation and get them back to the present, get them back to that moment. So we are trauma informed. I think a lot of that really goes into the empowerment based, which is so with empowerment, we really have to build these relationships and build this trust, show the women we're working, well, I say women because up to this point, that's mainly who we've worked with. That's who's in our program right now. But anyhow, we want to, more than anything, we want them to be heard, right? We want to know that they're heard, that they're seen. So by doing those things, which obviously fall into empowerment, those also fall back into that being trauma informed. You do need to be more gentle, I guess you could say, in showing some of these people who maybe have never had anyone in their life that that they could trust, that was not trying to manipulate them, that would show up when they said they were going to show up, that followed through with actions showing that they really do care about them when they say that. So we're really big on that. We also, we're big on, so we absolutely walk alongside them. We may give them choices. We can help, kind of steer in the right direction, but we do not make their decisions for them. So many survivors have not had voices for some of them, not at all, maybe, depending on when they got involved in their trafficking. So, just to allow them to make those choices and feel empowered that they can make their choices so that they, as their life starts growing and evolving, like they did that, Cover didn't do that. He didn't do that. Like they did that. So we're just here to kind of be a guide and, okay, what are your needs? What is his top priority? How are we going to walk through that with you? A part of that is also emphasizing safety, just in that this is a safe place, that, that you can trust us. Physical safety, that's one of the very, very first things we do with people sometimes is really get them safe so that we can then start going through the next step. We're also survivor informed. So I see that coming kind of from 3 different areas. So the main one is that we do have survivors within the organization. I myself am a survivor of trafficking, and I feel very heard in this organization. There's something that sometimes I can't even put my finger on it, right? But, we may be talking through maybe a policy or procedure and, I have that gut feeling of like, oh, just something's not quite feeling right, that I have that opportunity to come to Joanna, to come to other members on the team and say, I'm not sure about this one. Maybe, let's bounce this off of some other people. Let's have a discussion about this. So we do have survivors within the organization in different areas. And not only do we have survivors in our organization, but we also partner and listen to voices of survivors from maybe other survivor-led organizations. Hopefully we can build some additional connections here on this call. It looks like there's some great resources here as well. So absolutely, I'm a survivor and I know my story, but we all have very different stories, so even if it's how I personally feel as a survivor, that doesn't mean that that's how every single survivor out there feels. So we definitely respect those voices of other survivors, especially who have been working in this area as well. And the last place that, you know, it's really important for us to be survivor informed is we listen to the voices of the participants in our program. We have some women in our program who are so amazing, so intelligent. I mean, published authors. I mean, who are just so smart. You know, and so it's really important to come back to them and say, hey, when we went through this process, how did you feel about this? Is there anything that you would change? You know, so we really take their voice into what we're doing, and if there's something that we need to change or adjust, we really like to have their voice speak into that as well.
All right, thank you, Holly. You cut out just a little bit, so I'm just gonna. I know that. No, it was, we could hear most of it, but there was a few things that just cut out. So,
okay.
And I know what you were saying. So one of the parts that cut out was right now we, you know, what you'll see in these slides, what's reflected on our website is that we work with females. And that really is who we work with. We are in the process of being a part of a roundtable of organizations to talk about what it would look like to work with male survivors, because we realize that there's even less resources for them. I would say most of the people that we work with, we will always prioritize, you know, people in Colorado, but a lot of times we prioritize people who have children as well. Just because we know what's going to happen, you know, many times those children, you know, I've talked with several, well, more than several survivors right now that they were targeted because of their children. They weren't even so much interested in selling, you know, that particular person. They wanted to get their hands on the kids. They wanted to sell the kids because they knew that the kids would go for more money. And so that's something that we will always prioritize as well, is people who have children in their custody or are trying to get their children back. And mainly that's because we know that they have even fewer resources than people who are over the age of 18. So I would say the same thing with male survivors. We realize that so many of them have just not had the same resources and support that the females have had, and we want to be a part of that change. So that was something that cut out that I know Holly had talked about. Yeah, and then I'll just say a piece about the survivor informed. You know, there are many, and you probably know this. I'm probably not telling you anything that you don't know. I just do feel that it's part of my job is to give survivors a seat at the table, a voice. And I know that many survivor leaders, many survivors just feel like they don't have a voice in this, that their voices aren't heard. And so we have made the decision to really listen and empower the survivors that we work with to speak up and have a voice, and we're going to help their voices be heard. So I am so thrilled that Holly's here tonight, and she has been instrumental in not just the programming, but really how we, you know, when we go and talk to places, when we, you know, help with education, really everything that that we do, she speaks into. She's also on my board currently, and so she has just been pretty amazing person in this organization. She's a smart cookie, and she can figure out technology way better than I can. So I'm happy to have her around.
So in our video coming up.
Say that again.
Except for the audio on our upcoming video.
Right, but I think we figured it out. We're pretty creative. I think we figured it out. So let me just kind of take you through the program, guys. Just tell you a little bit about what the program looks like. We have 3 different phases, and the very first phase, it's just really trying to engage with them. We're working with people who are still currently in the life, and you know, and so we're trying to help them see that there's hope to get out of that. You know, I met a woman when I was working at Denver Rescue Mission. I met a woman who had been trafficked since she was about 14 years old, but because she was able to finally get away from her trafficker when she was about 19 or 20, there just weren't a lot of resources, and she ended up getting back on the streets. She didn't have Social Security card, she didn't have an ID, She did have a child. She ended up back into prostitution. And this is just this is a cycle for many people. When they don't have those resources, they do, you know, when you don't have options, how can you have a choice, right? So that was her story, and she ended up back in prostitution, and I met her at Denver Rescue Mission. And so one of the things I asked her is, do you want out? And she said, of course I want out. No one's ever asked me that. And that just made a really big impression on me. And so yeah, so we ask everyone, you know, you want out? What? And we try to help people, if they are still in, we try to help them make a safety plan and you know, figure out a safe way to get out of that. And sometimes that's moving them out of state, and sometimes it's working with them here. But that's that engage phase. At that point, they will also go through an assessment with our program director, as well as one of our counselors, to just kind of figure out where they are. And I don't really see it as, are they a good fit for our program? I really hate when people will say it that way. I look at it more as, are we a good fit for what their needs are? There's a lot of great programs around this country. And so we try to really pause and try to help people get connected with a program that's going to really fit them. That helps being a part of some great alliances. And I did see that I saw that Kendall Berger is on this call with the Shelter Alliance. I'm a big Kendall fan. I think she's awesome. And I'm a big fan of this organization. They are doing a fantastic job. And from the moment I promise Kendall did not pay me to say any of this, but from the moment that we got connected with this organization, it has been, it's been a lot easier to help survivors get connected to resources. So if you aren't familiar with their organization, you definitely should be, because especially if you're working with survivors, there are some great people over there. So that's the engage phase. Once we, you know, realize that they are, you know, they might do well in the program that we have, then we will go ahead and they'll move into the empower phase. Really, that's all about self-sufficiency. And that's what we're all about at Covered, is we want to help them get on their feet. We don't have a super structured program, because mainly we want to leave it open a little bit. We want to be able to tailor that to their needs. And we really involve the survivor in their safety plan, their care plan. We really involve them in some of those decisions up front. We don't write something for them. We sit down and talk with them and figure out where they are and where they want to go. And then we work towards that self-sufficiency. And I'll show you a little model of what that looks like in just a minute. Once they get through that phase, they hit graduation. And we started at our first graduation. We had a few survivors that kind of fell back a little bit. And we had to kind of take a step back and go, okay, what's going on here? Well, they were afraid that they were going to lose one of the only communities that they had, definitely one of the most, you know, healthy communities that they've had. And so now we talk to them a little different about graduation. And how we explain graduation is, we're going to celebrate how far you've come, because you've done an amazing job. You're a strong person. You're a survivor. So we're going to celebrate that, but we're not going anywhere. We're still here for you. If you still need a community, then we're still around. So that goes right into our Thrive phase, where we have a group of survivors. It's called the Covered Gathering. Holly is a part of that. She plays a significant role in that. I'll tell you, I agree with her. These women are talented, they are artistic, they're smart, they're creative. Many of them are starting their own businesses. They are just really incredible women. And so they get together. This group is not about, oh, poor me, you know, of what I've been through. It's a celebration of where they've come, and it's just friends getting together too. But, you know, I understand the value. I am not a survivor, but I understand the value of talking with people that can say, hey, I've been there. My daughter had cancer when she was 15 years old. And it was so encouraging to sit and talk with another parent who had that same story, you know, whose child had cancer. So I understand that enough to know that survivors need other survivors. They need to be able to sometimes sit down and talk with somebody who gets it. So that's what that Thrive phase is all about. We continue life skills. They do fun events. I think they went to the zoo recently. So that's just an example of some of the fun things that they do. Let me show you kind of a map, a timeline of what it looks like. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can see the far right of the screen. Can you see that all the way? You can see it? Okay, good. It's just me. So you'll see engage, where we start with the assessment and intake. And then, you know, if they, you know, which they usually do have an addiction, we've got a counselor that can help them get connected to rehabilitation services. And then we start right away getting their identifying information, that social security card, that ID, birth certificates for them and their kiddos. And at that point, they'll be in emergency housing. We'll also make sure they get any basic needs that they have. Then so they're at that point, they're in the stabilization phase. Once they're out of, which includes crisis counseling, and then obviously medical care. Once they get out of that, we will help them into transitional housing. We don't actually have transitional housing. We're hoping one day we do. Right now, we are currently working with homeless organizations. We had a homeless organization came to us and they said, hey, we've got transitional housing. You guys have a program. Why don't you run your program out of our transitional housing? And I thought that was brilliant. And I, quite frankly, really don't want to have to deal with learning how to run housing, but hopefully one day we will do that again. But right now that's working out really well. So that's what our transitional housing is looking like. We, you know, it definitely takes more work of working with the organizations to make sure that they're trauma informed, to make sure that they understand how to work with people that have been trafficked. But so far that has been some really good partnerships. So that's what our transitional housing looks like. At the same time, they will get a case manager, they're going to get a mentor. They will get a team of people up front, a community of people up front that are going to walk with them through all of these steps. So they might enter group counseling at that point. We do have a core life skills, core class, curriculum that they go through. And then at that point, we're going to start conversations about a job, a professional. What do they, you know, what do they want to do? That's been a really interesting conversation with many people. I'll never forget the little gal that I sat down with and I said, so what are your dreams? What do you want to do? And she paused and sat back in her chair and she said, Miss Joanna, I'm going to need to get back to you because nobody's ever asked me that before. And she just didn't know how to answer that question. So that's a question we ask everybody. What are your dreams? What do you want to do? And then we try to help them make that happen. And so that takes us right into, and I'll skip over some of these things, that takes us right into the scholarship program. We now have a scholarship program that we have three survivors that were scholarship recipients last year, and they are working their programs and really doing well. They send me their grades and I'm like, wow, you guys got better grades than I did. Good job. So they're just really proud of what they're learning, what they're doing. And most of them are trade schools. Most of them, they're learning, you know, we've got one little gal that's working to go into technology. Maybe she can help me because I sure need it. I'm not sure exactly what she's going into, but it's something along the lines of technology. And then we've got another one who's learning how to train service animals. And I think she's going to be amazing at it. So they're just really doing well in their different programs. Then at that point, we're going to have some more life skills for them to go through. They can join the covered gathering. And then once we can make the determination that they're going to be successful in permanent housing, after working for the mission and watching so many people be put into permanent housing before they were ready for it, and then watching them get evicted, and then them coming back to me and now knowing that they have an eviction on their record for 7 years, I just feel like sometimes when we put people in too quickly, we can do more damage. And so we are, we take our time with that. We're not putting people in to permanent housing before they're ready for that. And so far everyone has done really well. And, you know, that's a hard transition. And so there's you know, as you can imagine, there's a lot more that comes up during that transition that we need to help them through, with budgeting and just even understanding, you know, oh yeah, no, really, your landlord does expect you to pay rent at the same time every month. You know, sometimes people just don't realize that is, you know, that's what they have to do. So, so at that point, we work with them through that. We'll provide that first month's rent and deposit, help them get settled in an apartment, help that apartment get furnished. Then we've got graduation, and then they many times choose to stay a part of our community and come back and be a part of the covered gathering. So that's kind of what it looks like. But I want you to hear from someone she is a survivor we are currently working with. Her name is Emily. Of course, that's not her real name. We don't use real names, and we don't ever put pictures. So all the pictures I'm showing you today, those are wonderful, sweet little college girls who let us take stock photos of them this summer. So we just don't share pictures, and we don't share real names or information of survivors to protect their identity. But I do want to show you this video because I want you to just hear from somebody who's been through the program. We did have some problems. So I am going to attempt to show you this on my laptop. So this will be interesting, but hopefully we can do this and hopefully you can hear it. All right, let's try this.
Well, my trafficking started when I was pretty young. I was under the age of 10. My trafficker was somebody that was very close to me, somebody that had all of my trust and all of my care in their hands. They were just bad people. I didn't know when I was younger that it wasn't right, of course, but I mean, I had no hope for a long time, you know. I felt like everybody in the world was bad. And just recently, I've started to learn that maybe everybody isn't so bad, you know. Without organizations like Covered, I definitely wouldn't be progressing the way that I am today. To date, I've been involved with Covered for a few months. They've helped me get my first apartment. They helped me find a custody lawyer for my little girl. And we're just, you know, I have a job that's stable, that I love. I have a great support system. My support system, I really feel like they're the angels on earth. You know, they're the ones that are helping me get through this and process. And, you know, I haven't had this much hope in years. It has been a long time coming. For the first time in my life, I feel like I have a support, like a community of people who genuinely care about whether I live or die. You know, they genuinely care about my well-being, and they're showing me what it is to have healthy relationships.
Yeah, so she's just doing incredible. She's pretty amazing. So I just wanted you to hear from someone who has been to the program. Like I said, she is going to graduate in November. We're very proud of her. Yeah, so wanted you to hear from her. Let me just show you how to, whoops, there we go. Okay, let me show you how to connect with us. So if you have, if there's a survivor that you are trying to help get connected to services or find out about a program or the availability of our program. So right now we don't have any availability in the program right now. We are actually over capacity. But this is the number that you can call. This number will go directly to our program director, and she is the door to get people into Covered. So I wanted to just give you her number. And then any other information that you know, that you're looking for, shoot us an email. That's probably the best way to get information, because that's going to go to Brenda. And Brenda is our operations director, and she will get that to whoever needs to answer that question. So, so that may go to me, that may go to Holly. Yeah, but I think that's the easiest way to get in touch with us. I also gave you the number to the office, and that is the 720 number that you see at the bottom. So that's the best way to get a hold of us. And then they also asked how you guys, some of you might want to, help with something. So, I don't think there's an organization around that's not going to ask for donations, right? I mean, some of you know that. Honestly, that's our biggest need. It takes us about $15,200 to get a survivor through a 2-year program. And most of that is housing. And but that's what it costs. So we are really limited on what we can, on who we can work with until we've got more funding coming in. But we will, like I said, we will always prioritize Colorado, and we will always prioritize people that don't have as many resources. So that's the first thing we need. You can become a part of our monthly donors, which is part of the covered crew. And quite honestly, this is our biggest funding. People always ask me where we get our funding. And I mean, I think any organization does just about anything to get funding, events, grants, we do all of that, but it's our monthly donors that keep this organization running. So we are pretty crazy about them. And, we will send things out to them. There's not a lot that you can share on social media, right? We don't share really anything on social media. We've been targeted a few times by some people who I believe were traffickers. And so we have to be pretty cautious on social media, but we do share a little bit more with our donors. So that's probably the biggest need in our organization. But we also love to collect gift cards, and we love to do that for a couple of reasons. One, we got a lot of case managers and people that are going with survivors to make purchases, and I just can't possibly give them a covered credit card. So we use gift cards to do that. We also love to give gift cards to the case managers so they can take survivors. It comes back down to that choice. It comes back down to empowering them to make their own choices. You can go and pick out a bedspread for her new place, or you can take her and say, what color do you want? And so we try to do that as much as we can. And then you can also follow us on social media and share our posts, help us raise awareness, help us get the message out there. So those are just a few ways that you can become part of our team and work with us. You can also check out more ways to get involved on our website, which is coveredcolorado.org. And there's a lot of information on there. There's also information on there as far as what to look for, which I think you guys probably all know that, but if you ever need to send somebody, to a place where they've just got some of those listed out, we've got that on our website as well. So I wanted to not rush through this, but I didn't want to. I'm known for running out of time at the end, and there's no time for questions. And I figured that you guys would probably have some questions. So Holly, I do expect for you to tell the leadership team that I did save some time for questions at the end.
I will. I'll be sure and let them know.
Thanks.
One thing that sprung into my mind, Joanna, also is, yes, we don't have, we can't take anyone else into the program right now from the start, all the way through. If any of you are working with people who maybe they already have their own apartment, they already have a job, maybe their trafficking was a way back, but they're like, oh my gosh, I still have this legal thing I'm dealing with, or I would really just like to find a community of other survivors, or, we do work with people who are kind of at different places in their healing as well. And sometimes that doesn't take, it doesn't take, if we're not paying for that emergency housing, we may have some availability to work with other survivors on services like that as well.
Yes, that is a great point. Thank you. So do you guys just open this up to questions at the end? Is that?
Yes, we do. Thank you for sharing with us. And we have Jane, who has been collecting the questions for us. So Jane, are you out there?
I'm out here. I'm way out here, actually, Julie. So Joanna and Holly, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us and sharing this amazing program of Covered Colorado. And we do have some questions, and I wanted to remind everyone, if you want to pose a question, you can go to the chat and you can send a direct message to me under host Jane Jones and put your question in, and I'll add it to the queue. I apologize, I have a funny throat right now, but we will get through this. So the first question, there's a little bit of, just a little bit of some color here, and then somewhat of a question. One of the gentlemen that is with us often had mentioned that he works with survivors in the urban and small town streets, and he works with a lot of Indigenous and Native and Latina population, and oftentimes they cannot, for certain safety reasons, as we know, become court involved or feel that they can't. So he was just kind of wondering, you know, some of the opinions that you might have on that as far as outreach, how Covered Colorado handles situations like that.
Yeah, so because we work with over 18, we do not require them to report. And that's not been very popular sometimes with people, but, and I guess here's my thought on it. I'm gonna give her as many chances to make her own decisions as she can. I think that's really important, because I think that's a big part of her healing process. Many times what happens is we tell them in the beginning, because they're scared, they say, I don't want to report. We will say, that's okay, you don't have to. And then later on, they will say, talk to me about what that looks like. So a lot of times that will open up later. That is not something to require people to do in the beginning, and really ever. And I will say this too. We even though we ask them about that, we ask them in the beginning if they do want to. It is also not something that we push on them. We don't do that. I look at it as I'm thankful for the law enforcement that we work with. I think they're amazing people. Their job's to catch the bad guys. Our job's to take care of the survivors and help them get on their feet. So that's just kind of how we handle that at Covered.
Great, thank you so much for answering that. This next, oh, I'm sorry, Holly, did you have an addition to that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, on that one.
Okay.
Thanks.
Want to make sure. The second question is, do you work with people who aren't citizens? For instance, women coming out of the illicit massage business.
We would like to. We just haven't yet. That's just not something that we have done. Yeah, we would just have to look into that. We do want to work with people that just don't have as many resources. So I'm sure, gosh, I can't even imagine where to start with them. So if you are an organization that's doing that, I'd love to connect with you and find out what that looks like.
Great. Okay, thank you. I have a feeling you'll probably be hearing from someone.
Oh, great.
So the next question is, what are your biggest obstacles or needs? I think you touched a little bit on that, but if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, housing, funding, I think those are the biggest obstacles. We, right now, because we're part of several alliances. Right now, I just talked with our program director, and she said we're turning away about 3 a week right now. And when I say turn away, we don't ever just say no, we can't help you. It's going to be more like, hey, let me see if I can get you connected to this organization. And so we will do that. We try to always help them get connected to an organization. Yeah.
Great. So
did I answer that question?
A referral of some kind is usually what you like to do. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Super. And question number 4, which group do you partner with for transitional housing?
We 2 different groups. We partner with Denver Rescue Mission, and then we're getting ready to partner with Samaritan House through Catholic Charities. Holly, do you want to talk to any of that? Because you are our connection there.
No, but I did want to, in case those of you on this call weren't aware, Their program right now for single women, they have a ton of beds open right now. So I don't know if that's helpful information for anybody on this call, but they do have a lot of openings for single women right now. But they do, they do serve others as well. But yeah, so it's going really, really well with them. It's a newer relationship with them. But yeah, I think they're just right in line with some of our same goals and values, and excited about that partnership.
And was that with Samaritan House?
Uh-huh.
Yes, okay, great. So the next question is, for a case manager volunteer, how many cases are you expected to be in charge of?
One. Yeah, one. We just, we don't give a volunteer case manager more than one. And that is overseen. Let me say that we have a person on staff as our program director, and she oversees all of the case managers, and she's the one that actually puts together with the survivor their care plan, and then our counselors are a part of that as well. And then the volunteer case managers, they're helping carry some of that out. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit.
Sure, great.
Yeah, but they never have more than one person.
Mm-hmm. Super. That's a really good ratio right there.
Yes, it is.
So,
right.
You never know what comes up. Yeah.
So that's all I had in the queue for now. So if anyone has any other questions, please add them to the chat. But for now, I'll turn it back to Julie.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. I'll just give maybe another minute for any more questions to come in. So send those to host Jane Jones if you have them. But one thing that I really appreciate that you hit on a couple of times was how, like, your learning process. Like, we did this and then we were like, oh, that didn't work so well, so let's make some changes. And also for all of you that know me and have experience with our organization, you know that I'm very passionate about community. And I think that you hit on a really important point of saying that it takes a community to surround somebody, and that it's also a lifelong process. You know, we all go through things in our life where we have struggles, and then we're doing okay, and we're doing fine for maybe quite a while, and then we hit a roadblock. And we need to know that there's somebody that's going to catch us, or that's going to be willing to listen and walk with us again if we need them to. So I really appreciate that about the things that you shared, and obviously who you are as an organization. I'm glad to have had you here with us this evening. So
Thank you.
Jane, were there any more questions that came in?
No more questions, but a big thank you from Shannon from the place, who we love. Thanks you guys for being here.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
joining us this evening, for giving us your Tuesday evening. I know it was like madly snowing like an hour ago, and now it seems perfectly fine. So I'm glad we didn't have to get out in whatever it would have been when we were out. I hope that you join us next month. We will have somebody talking with us about labor trafficking on the Western Slope. And that's a new area that we're hoping to push into in the future. So join us next month. It was good seeing you here this evening.